Hey there guys, what is up? It is Autobot Mike 18 here, back with my final episode review for True Detective. That's right guys, we have just been given the Season 2 finale of True Detective, just aired, and now here I am to talk about my thoughts because a lot of stuff went down in this finale, and I've got a lot to talk about. Yeah, guys, I, of course, and I'm sure as many of you were looking forward to see how things were going to end with this season of True Detective. I personally, after last week's episode especially, got really excited for the finale. Tonight's episode, being the 8th episode of the season, is called Omega Station. And I'm going to go completely in depth, guys. Now, since this episode was 90 minutes long, that's right, I'm not joking. It was 90 minutes long. Completely uninterrupted, no commercials, 90 minutes, straight up 90 minutes. So I have a lot to discuss. I think there's ultimately some things that just aren't relevant that I'm just going to leave out because I don't want to do like an hour-long review just because the whole episode was 90 minutes. I think I'm just going to try my best to breeze over certain things. So if I skim over something, don't go in depth on something, just ask me about it down below in the comments, and I'll get to it. And of course, I want to save time for the end of the video, because I would also like to sum up my thoughts on the season in general, because I feel that's very important. Also, guys, real quick, just quick bit of advertising. Check out one of my most recent videos, my A24 Films spotlight video / discussion video. I did a whole video talking about film distribution company A24 Films. I just want some people to check it out. I want to spread the love of that company. So it's on my channel. It was posted like a couple days ago after this review goes up. So please check that out if you guys are interested. Anyway, guys, let's get into True Detective. Now again, I think a lot of people, and I will probably agree with most people, a lot of people have felt that this season was mostly miss for the majority of it. Then it really started to get good with like the last 3 episodes or so. So naturally, I was looking forward to the season finale. I was really excited to see where things we're going to include for these characters. We have 3 of our main characters left. When we started with 4, as we all know, Paul was gunned down last week, so Taylor Kitsch he bit the bullet. But we still had Frank, Annie, and Ray, and I still wanted to see where these characters were going to go, whether or not they were going to solve this damn case, and whatnot. And overall, I went into this finale, expecting a satisfying end. And while I feel we got that for the majority of it, I still feel that they dropped the ball some places here or there. And I still feel that the overall just revelations that we were all waiting for just weren't quite what we should have gotten. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Yeah, I was a little let down with this season finale. I'm going to be honest. Overall, the season in general, in my opinion, I'll talk about this later. It could have been much better. I really think they dropped the ball in certain areas, and it's actually quite upsetting. The finale wasn't terrible. It's not like the worst thing of the entire season. I just feel some things could have been done so much differently. But anyway, let's get into what's going on. First off, and I'm going to have to go in chronological order because I'm not just going to jump all over the place and talk about what was good, what was not good. I'll start off chronologically with this episode, and let me get into one thing that I feel is entirely forced and did just not need to happen whatsoever. Is the whole Annie and Ray having sex. I didn't buy into that. I didn't particularly care for it. Like, I tolerated it last week, but we start off with the 2 of them in bed, and I know they've been working on this case together, but literally no hints have been dropped this entire season to show that the 2 of them would end up in a relationship together. Nothing. Not a thing. It literally came out of nowhere last week's episode. So when they got together, I'm like, alright, fine, let's just breeze over it. They didn't breeze over it. And they're both basically revealing their past lives to each other. Annie telling about how she was held captive by that rapist, and Ray getting into the man that he killed who he thought raped his wife. And I was just, I don't know. I didn't buy into it. Just the whole fact that they actually did sleep together, it felt entirely forced, in my opinion. It really, really did. That's one thing that massively upset me with this episode, and I really just wish that they just didn't add. And I kind of see why they needed to do it, mainly with the way this ends, where Annie and Ray, with the way the entire season ends, Annie going on this boat to Venezuela, Ray's on the run, men are hunting him down, police members are hunting him down. She doesn't want him to go, she wants to be with him. I get that, to make us feel for the two, make us feel even more for Ray, but did they have to sleep together? Did they have to have a romantic connection? I don't think so. I really don't think it was needed at all. That's just how I feel. So thank God they didn't spend too much time on that. But what we get into soon after, and this is what really intrigued me, was the whole finding out that Paul died. Because I think that he definitely was like a detrimental member of this team. And as I think Ray even pointed out, he saved their asses like 3 different times throughout this, throughout the season. And he kind of did. He did in the shootout, and he did when he just got killed. So, yeah, Paul is like the unsworn hero, for sure. So when they get news, Ray, I think, calls Paul's phone to see what's up with him, and Lieutenant Burris answers, who once knew Ray. He's tied in with the Vinci Police Department. There's just a bunch of corruption that's been going on this whole season. A lot of people that were working with the Vinci PD had something to do with this whole thing involving diamonds back in 1992, a diamond robbery, which I'll get into. It's explained a lot better in tonight's episode than it was ever in the past, really. And that's the whole storyline, is essentially the essential reason why Caspere is dead. So that was just so shoehorned into this series. But I'll get into that. Anyway, so Ray gets the call from Burris, realizes Paul's dead. They're upset. They have no leads at this point. They're fugitives. Ray's being framed for Paul's death as he's being framed for Davis's death at the end of the middle of last week's episode. So Ray and Annie are on their own at this point. Then they realize that they need to keep looking in this case. The only way to clear their names is to find out who killed Caspere and get him, into a precinct before get a testimony going. Expose the corrupt Lieutenant Burris or the Chief Holloway, whatever the hell his name is, who tried to kill Paul last week and got away with it. So they discover that Annie and Ray discover that the 2 kids who had gone homeless as a result of that 1992 robbery in that diamond store, that jewelry store, whatever, Caspere ended up taking these really expensive ass diamonds. Him along with Chisani and just everybody who's been crooked, Dixon in this entire series, Holloway, I'm guessing, all of them just killed these 2 kids' parents, and the names of these 2 kids are Lenny and Erica. And it turns out that the boy, Lenny, is the one who killed Caspere. Now, you guys remember when they went on the movie set back in the 2nd episode or something? Back on that movie set, Lenny and his sister Erica were both working on the set. I think Lenny was a set photographer and she was doing something else. I don't know, a secretary for something or whatever. There was our killer the whole time. Now, that's something that True Detective has done for literally the straight 2nd season in a row. If you watch the 1st season, not spoiling anything, the main killer of the movie comes into the show in a very brief appearance in the 3rd episode. And I love how they went back to that later on, and we find out that's who the killer was. And Matthew McConaughey had come in contact with him. They did the same thing with this season. Same exact thing. Ray and Annie were right near the killer. And yeah, all right, stuff like that probably happens in real life, but I don't care. I don't like that. So it's Ray and Annie's mission now to get this Lenny kid, get some sort of testimony out of him, get something out of their sister. They believe they have something to do with all of this in general. So they go after them, and meanwhile, Frank is trying to get his wife Jordan out of town, which he successfully does, until she eventually just gives in. He is just at the point of just begging her to just get out of town. He's got loose ends to fix. He's got to go after Osip. He's got to get some money. He's got to take care of a bunch of things, and he is willing to just run away. Jordan wants him to run away. He is telling her, listen, baby, I can't do this. They're going to come after us. They're going to kill you. You got to go. I have to stay behind and fix all this. Take care of all these loose ends. So Ray and Annie, meanwhile, Frank has like mounted an entire like freaking arsenal of weapons, which is so badass, and he's being held in a safe house above that bar that Frank and Ray used to go to. You know, the one where Lyra Lynn sings on the guitar even during the day when no one's there, which is shown in this episode, which was also very dumb. She's an amazing voice, though, just saying. This is a safe house, and, you know, the bartender with the scarred face helps them out. Whatever her name is, Felicia, I don't remember. So Ray and Annie go to this kid, Lenny's house, and they find the sister handcuffed to a wall for some reason. And she tells them everything, and this is the evidence they need. Lenny was the one who dressed up as the Crow, shot and killed, or not shot and killed, shot Ray when Ray came into that house that Caspere was in, and he saw the hard drive and everything, and then a whole bunch of other things going on with the hard drive and whatnot. And they have their evidence now. Lenny is the murderer, and he is expected to meet Holloway because he obviously wants him dead for everything that's happened, I'm assuming. And Holloway wants the documents that Paul stole, as well as the hard drive, because it's got a bunch of dirty crap on it. And Ray sees this as his chance. So they find out that this Lenny guy, all along who killed Caspere, is meeting with Holloway at a train station. So Ray goes there in disguise. Annie sends this Erica girl off on a bus. She goes in there undercover. And Ray meets with this Lenny kid and tells him, listen, we're going to get him this way. So he gives the kid a recorder. So they meet. Ray meets with Holloway, who unexpectedly did not expect Ray to be getting involved in all this. Sits down with Ray. The kid is. I love this scene. This is a great scene in probably the best scene in the entire episode. They're sitting down in the train station. The kid is behind the hood. He's recording the entire conversation. This is what they need. Holloway's going to basically admit everything. This is the one piece of evidence they need. This kid just can't snap or ruin the entire moment. This is exactly what Ray needs. This will clear him and Annie's name. All will be revealed about who killed Caspere. And I'm assuming this what's-his-face kid, this Lenny kid, will still get in trouble for it. I mean, he's beyond help. Ray even mentioned in this episode, Erica's like, well, what's going to happen to my brother if you go after him? Well, or I think Annie mentioned it. He's like, well, he, is beyond, like, help or something, paraphrasing. So yeah, he's going to go to jail for killing Caspere, but he's going to bring down Holloway, which is what essentially this kid wants. And Holloway is there with the diamonds that all these guys, Caspere and all them, Dixon and all them, were involved with back in the 92 robbery, what essentially ruined these two kids' lives. So Holloway starts talking about Lenny's sister, and Lenny doesn't like this one bit, jumps over the seat and just starts knifing the hell out of him. I think Lieutenant Burris or some other just police officer guy who's crooked and in on all this gets involved, and the cops come by. Ray's got to get out of this situation. Him and Annie make a run for it. They wanted to get the recorder, though, but somebody steps on it, which just ruins their entire plan, just everything they had going. This was their one-way ticket out of all of this. Someone steps on the recorder and amidst the chaos. And the kid gets killed, and what's his face? Lenny gets killed as well as Holloway in the shootout. So they're both dead. That's it. Like Ray and Annie, they're done. Like they have nothing at this point. So they retreat back to the safe house, and Frank is there with them as well. And Frank's like, you know what, guys? Ray, if you can help me pull off this operation, I'm gonna go steal like $2 million right here in this one place. This one, OSIP's like taking care of all of his remaining assets or some crap like that. I don't even know. And if they can heist it and they can steal all this, Ray and Annie can go off to Venezuela, and Frank can get out of all this and go back to his wife Jordan. So this is their one last thing they have to do, and then they're riding free. They're done with all this. So Ray agrees. Him and Frank arrive at this large estate. It's like in the middle of nowhere, of course, like where the party was held. And Osip and everyone's there, heavily guarded. Ray and Frank go undercover in one boss of a shootout. This is probably the second best scene in the entire episode. But I was just like, I was completely blown away by how badass this moment was. They're bursting into the room, just picking off these henchmen, and Frank kills Osip, and it's indeed very satisfying. Osip tried to screw him, Caspere tried to screw him, Caspere got killed in the end of all of it, so they steal all the money, and Ray and Frank split terms. That's it. They shake hands one last time, go in their own separate ways. Ray is going to go back to the safe house, or not the safe house specifically. He's going to meet on a boat with Annie, and the two of them are going to ride off together. They're going to head off to Venezuela. And Frank is just going to get out of there in general. He stops and meets with these two Russian mobster guys and does something with the cash he stole and diamonds. And I still have no idea what the hell happened with that, but I don't know. Tonight's episode was a little all over the place, which is one of my very many problems with it. I'll get into it, like with the season in general. But so Frank gets out of this, man. He's got $1 million in cash in a briefcase. He's on his merry way until he gets stuck in traffic between two different cars, two darkly colored cars. Obviously, this is going to go well for him. And, of course, men bust into the car, holding him at gunpoint, force him or drive him out to the desert, essentially. So this is not a good sign for Frank at all. Literally this close to being scot-free. Ray, meanwhile, is on his way to rendezvous with Annie in the boat, so the two of them can get out of there. Ray has all the cash that he needs for the two of them to start over, and he decides to, he's on the highway, he's talking to Annie on the phone, and decides to get off at an exit to see Chad one last time. And this scene, my heart was literally beating. I was just like, obviously this is going to end badly, but how or what's going to happen, I can't wait to see this shit unfold. So Ray parks his car on some residential street near the school and gets out of it, and of course some large black SUV is rolling down the street. Obviously someone's been following him and tailing him. So Ray goes to see his son, and this is a great moment in the entire episode, because this is probably one of the most interesting conflicts that was going on. The whole fact that Ray and his son could never be the father and son that that Ray, I guess, wanted them to be. They were never as close as as Ray wanted them to be. And with the way things had gone, he had to say goodbye to his son, with the whole fact that his wife wanted to get the paternity test and everything, and blah, blah, blah. One thing goes to another. He gets to see Chad for one last time, and he's seeing the kids playing a board game on some picnic table, and he sees the badge that he gave his son that was Ray's father's. And Chad takes a look, and he sees his father, and they salute each other, and that's obviously going to be the last time he's ever going to see Chad, even if Ray made it out of this all alive. Goes back to his car, sees a bunch of oil all over the place. I thought they took the gas out of the car or something, but apparently they put some sort of transponder under the car. So Ray is freaking out at this point. He's like, I don't see anybody around me. What the hell am I going to do? Gets in the car and drives off, and obviously he's being tailed. So he cannot go back to the safe house where they're keeping him and Annie. Annie is also wanted, a fugitive at this point. Both of them will get blown away, and yeah, so Ray can't do that. Calls Annie up and is like, listen, you better get on that boat. I'm getting tailed here. I'm gonna do my best to meet with you when I can. I'll be right behind you. And then he has Annie give the phone to Felicia, that bartender chick with the messed up face, and tells her, listen, I'm not gonna make it. He knows it's over. And even as Ray went into the woods and he was doing that voice recording for Chad, and goes into the woods to, escape these men in the SUV that are chasing him, I, for a feeling, knew that Ray was going to die. I knew he was going to. He had his final piece with his son. That was the determining factor. I don't think Ray would have died had he not taken that exit, probably. Maybe he was being tailed all along and didn't notice it. I don't know. I don't think we'll ever know. But he made his final piece with his son, and that's one of the most satisfying moments in the entire season, to be honest. So I was like, you know what, if he dies, I'm not going to be pissed off. I just want to see him die in a way where, all right, fine, he's surrounded here, he's dead, that's it. Okay, but if he has a chance to make it out of this, let him make it out of this. I'll get into that later. I want to get back to Frank. I love how this is all intercut with each other. Frank gets dragged out in the middle of the desert, and it turns out that the guys who kidnap him in this moment are the Mexican men who had been meeting with Frank and wanted to use his clubs to sell their drugs and their meth and whatnot. And when Frank burned down the clubs, there goes their business. So Frank tells them, like, take my money here, take this. I got this large bag of cash, $1 million here, and here you go. It's all yours. And they take it, and he's like, well, what? You're not even going to drive me back into town or whatever? And then they start to leave him. And then one of the guys comes back and he's like, give me your suit. And then he goes to give him his suit, and then very stupidly, I don't know. Maybe he didn't want to give the suit because the gun was in his knee pocket or whatever. I don't know, in his sock pocket. But he goes to give the suit and punches the guy, and then he just gets stabbed. And then I was like, all right, I didn't think Frank was going to make it out of this, truth be told, anyway. But this is what we have now. Let's see if they're going to leave him for dead. They even had a hole buried, a hole dug the whole time. So obviously that was never a good sign. So is Frank, Frank stands up and he's like, I'm going to hobble my way out of this. I'm going to make my way. And I think we all knew, obviously, he wasn't going to. Same thing with Ray. When Ray got in the woods, I think we all knew it. He's waiting for that voice recording to send. He's being surrounded. He ends up taking out 2 of these guys. He does. He successfully does. And at some point, he checks his phone, and I think he knew that, or he thought that the recording was going to send some really heartbreaking recording that he had made for his son right before he got in the woods. Looks up in the sky, runs out into the blue with the 3 remaining men that are hunting him down, including one of them, Lieutenant Burris, and just gets blown away. Ray dies. Great way to go out. I'll get into in a bit whether or not I feel he could have made it out of that, and I will get into that. Then we go back to Frank, and in my opinion, one of the utmost stupidest things they could do to a character who has been ruined and sort of, I don't know, like not a joke the entire season, but hasn't been as serious, as threatening as he could have been, and it's not because of Vaughn's performance per se, it's because of the writing per se. And this is one of the probably the most dumbest things I have seen on this show in general. He's hobbling out, he's bleeding, and he just sees visions of his father, some guys that were just, he got in bad trouble with. I think one of his other visions was Blake, and he's just like, I'm going to keep going, and he sees his wife, and he's like, I made it, hun, I'm here. And then she tells him, no, you didn't, look behind you, you dropped dead back there. He looks and he sees the body, and then he just drops. And oh, God. Guys, I'll get into that in a second, but not a good way for Frank to go out, okay? Not at all. Okay, terrible. Somewhat terrible, guys. I'll get into it. So then we have basically a bit of a catch-up. Annie, at the same time that we had been intercutting with Ray and Frank in their final stands, essentially, Annie gets away on the boat with the Felicia bartender girl and moves to Venezuela. So in the end, she's basically wrapping everything up. She has all the remaining evidence, by the way. Everything is basically going back to normal. They name a highway after Paul, which I thought was a very nice respect, as we see his fiance with the baby and his mother standing there looking very proud. I'm assuming it's like a year later. I think even Annie says it. Mayor Chisani, who, by the way, was forced to commit suicide, and I'm assuming it was by his son, I think, who ends up becoming the new mayor, and his son, Tony Chisani, and his sister Betty, I think was her name, apparently were involved in all this in some way, but he becomes the new mayor for some reason. And Ray's ex-wife gets the paternity test, and it says 99% true, but I couldn't tell whether or not that was saying that was Ray's son, or it was just saying it was her son or something. Like, I don't know. Like, I didn't get to like freeze frame like the paternity test. So I wasn't sure even what the results were, but I know she's just bawling her eyes out. A part of me assumed that it was Ray's son, like that was actually his son, even though he looks nothing like him. But what did the paternity test say, guys? I missed it. They cut too quick. I didn't get a good look at it like I wanted to. And then we cut to a year. It's been a year. Annie's narrating all this. She gives all this evidence to some guy I don't recall seeing in this series. And she tells him, listen, I'm not going to be back in this room for another hour. You do what you got to do with this evidence. Get it out there. Get the story known. And she goes into another hotel room. She's in Venezuela. It's like a large party's going on outside. And we see Jordan with a baby. Whose baby's that? I have no idea. I'm assuming it's Frank's, even though throughout this entire series she said she could not have a kid. Maybe it's adopted. I don't know. And Annie's just like, come on, we're ready to go. And the two of them walk off into the night with the party going on. Jordan has the baby, and one of Frank's bodyguards is with them. End series. End season. Wow. That's it, guys. That was the end of True Detective. Wow, guys. Yeah. All right. You know what? Yeah, that was the... As you guys can tell, as I'm trying to... In my recap, I was not pleased with how several things went down. First off, let's start off with this. The entire scene with Frank and the way he went out was terrible. Okay, I don't know. I quite frankly do not know what Nick Pizzolatto was thinking. First off, it was dumb in its own right for him to just try to go attack these guys. They were about to leave him in the desert for dead with no car without him being stabbed. So he could have made it out of this. Whatever. Yeah, he got stabbed. Just to have that whole montage, that whole sequence where he is walking and he sees visions of people from his past, it's one of the dumbest things I've seen in an incredibly long time. I was nearly laughing at what I was watching, guys, to be quite honest with you. It actually annoyed me that much to the point where I was just like, I can't wait for him to drop dead. What a terrible send-out for that character, all right? I mean, he struggled this entire season. I thought he was like slowly coming to terms with himself last episode, and I think he did half of this episode. Went into that shootout, and yeah, we probably assumed he wasn't going to make it out of it. My problem was not that he didn't make it out of this. My problem was how he did not make it out of this. That's what was wrong. Also, going back to Ray and his final stand, he took out two guys with a pistol, had a whole shotgun left, and you're telling me he was going to at least attempt to take out the remaining three guys? Just decided to run out and get fired? I mean, yeah, alright, part of him probably knew, like, this is over. But I really don't think Ray would have went down like that. I really don't. And I'm not saying I wanted to see Ray live all of this. He was easily the best character on the show. He went out like a boss. I love the satisfying moment with him and his son, but I still feel that that wasn't the Ray that we knew all season long. Ray would have tried to gun those men down. And if he would have gotten killed in the process, I would have been more happier with that. That's Ray, in my opinion. The entire ending is utter shit, guys, in my opinion. I didn't like it. I really didn't. The only aspect of this ending that I liked, to be completely honest, was the fact that, in contrary to what we were probably all expecting, we were all probably saying, yeah, alright, at least one of these characters is going to emerge as the true detective, and all is going to be revealed to the public about who was crooked and whatnot. And although most of the people that were involved with Caspere are dead, like Holloway and all them, and Chisani is dead, and Osip is dead now, they're all dead. Chisani's kids still made it out of this, and they were connected in this in some way that I'm not even going to try to go back and figure out in this entirely long, convoluted, complex season. But I like that. Like, I like seeing, like, somebody who was involved in the midst of all of this just rising above everyone who completely thought that, like, they don't know the truth. Everyone thought that Ray was responsible for Paul's death, Davis's death. Maybe he had something to do with this whole entire thing revolving around Caspere. Obviously, because Holloway was killed, so they probably assume, yeah, Ray was involved in this as well. And with Annie gone into hiding, they probably assumed he was responsible for her death as well. So I kind of liked that aspect. And now they're gonna. Annie gave the evidence to that random guy who we've never seen before, and he's obviously gonna put it out there in the public, which is fine. So I like that whole aspect. But the whole thing with Annie and Jordan teaming up, just why? Why are they together in Venezuela? How did Jordan have a kid? Where are they going off together? It was a very, extremely weak ending, in my opinion. I was not a big fan of it at all. I'm trying to go back and think about other things I didn't care about, I didn't care for. I still think there are an absurd amount of convoluted plot points that I still am trying to wrap my head around and figure out who was responsible for what, who did what specifically, but that ties into the season in whole. I just think this was an overall very disappointing way to end the season. I think there were some exciting moments tonight's season finale. I think the way some characters went out were great, even though, like, Ray, that was great. Frank, no, not even close. Just not at all. I don't know. Not a huge fan, guys. I am going to give it a higher grade because it did have me riveted in a few moments. I did have it on the edge of my seat. Even like who killed Caspere, like even that revelation just wasn't worth it, guys. The whole buildup of this season just was not worth it and not what it should have honestly been. I'm going to give this season finale of True Detective an overall score of a 8.5 out of 10 or a B. I know this is like the season finale. It should have been so much better than it was, but it had just a lot of really dumb and ridiculous things that I wouldn't have even had in. The whole Annie and Ray sleeping together just felt forced and just completely unnecessary. Overall, guys, my overall score for the season, a lot of you may be surprised I didn't go that high, but I honestly, guys, I know I gave high grades. I didn't give one grade for an episode below a B minus. I was mildly entertained. However, this season doesn't even compare to the first season, not even close. It was way too convoluted and complex. We got introduced into the real story behind this whole Caspere thing way too late. Not enough build-up to it in any way. Way too many characters and side plots going on. Too many characters in general to deal with. And then just the way certain things concluded, not a fan of. Certain things felt forced. Not a fan of the ending at all. Doesn't even touch upon the greatest of the first season. You know what? I wasn't gonna go below. I'm gonna go C. I'm going C plus, guys, or 7.75. Not a huge fan of this season. I will not be buying it on Blu-ray like I bought the first season and binged it, and that was worth it. Okay, this very, very disappointing. Good performances, a mildly compelling story that had great moments here or there, but other than that, there is a lot of wasted potential this season, and that's overall how I feel about Season 2. So, guys, I'm turning the floor to you guys. What did you think of Season 2 of True Detective? Were you let down like I was? What did you think of the finale in general? Were you happy how things ended? Do you still feel confused? Do you still feel things feel unanswered? I do. Leave me your thoughts down below, guys, and thank you again so much for watching. Sorry this video is so long, but I had a lot to discuss. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video.